Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm DIY Danie, your friendly neighborhood DIYer, and this is a place where I share my love of DIY and create cool custom DIY pieces for your home all the time. Well, I would be lying if I told you that I wasn't nervous about this episode. Like, my hands feel really clammy for some reason, and I don't know why. It's a weird feeling. It's a really big announcement that I need to make, but I'm like so nervous to talk about it. I guess in a way it just doesn't feel real yet, so it's kind of weird to say it out loud, but here we go. I am officially moving. Better yet, I am buying my very first home. Literally in the next 2 months. It's insane. I've spent the last 3 years in this home and I feel slightly devastated to be leaving, to be honest. But also at the same time, I'm so excited to be sharing the next chapter of my life with you all. How exciting is a whole house of new ideas and new DIYs to share with you. I can't wait. And I know what you're all thinking. Danie, you just spent the last couple months transforming your home to the place that you finally wanted to be. I know. I'm devastated. However, it's totally fine. I don't regret anything, and I'm just happy that I finally was able to see this home come to a place where I really love it. I don't even think it was finished. I think my ideas were always changing, and there was a couple things I still wanted to do, and I'm going to explain that all in this tour. Hopefully that's okay. And I will keep you all updated as the process moves along. Stay tuned. And I have one more quick announcement to make before we get into this home tour. I'm sorry. That sounded so Canadian. Sorry. I built a brand new blog for everybody, and that is called DIY in Progress. This was actually being created while I was creating the DIY clothing line, so the naming kind of went in tandem with each other. But I built this site because I wanted a place for all the creative junkies, DIY weekend warriors, home decor inspirers, and interior decorating seekers like me who need a place to feel inspired and motivated to try new ideas in their home. Thus, DIY in Progress was born. And it is because of this website that I actually am really excited to talk about the sponsor of this episode, which is Squarespace. So Squarespace creates websites and online stores, provides marketing tools and analytics. It's basically just an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business like a boss. I do have a little bit more I want to say about Squarespace and my blog in particular, so I will leave that for a little bit later. But for now, let's jump into this crazy last final DIY home tour. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. It's crazy. So let's get on this journey. Come on. I'm starting with the dining space because this project was the first project I actually featured on my channel a little over a year ago, and it feels really special to me. This space before I built this table in here was not functional at all. I ended up having a corner cabinet, and then there was a little side table, I think like a little dog bed, and Jeff and I just really wanted a place that we could eat. I'm like, I just want to be an adult. So I decided to solve the problem with a DIY. Thus, this kind of farmhouse style DIY tabletop was born. So this is all custom made, and I actually built it onto pre-existing table legs that I got off of Facebook Marketplace. It was actually a round table that it came with, and I repurposed it for a rectangle shape because it just fit the room and the space a little bit nicer, and it came with the chairs. I didn't want this space to take up a lot of room, so that's why I ended up building this long bench that sat at the back that wraps around on the side here. The L-shaped part of the bench is disconnected from it. You can use it as extra seating in your living room. It was just a more functional way to create seating that was flexible. 7 people have been able to sit at this one table. One person here, one person can sit in the back corner, one person can sit here, 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 and there. So it was a DIY that was very functional for the space, and we use it every single day. A recent development that I kind of updated was these chairs and the table legs. These all used to be white, and then there was just so much white happening in my space, I wanted to bring in color and a little bit more personality. So I ended up painting them black and making the spindles pink just to add some flair. Simple things like just painting the chairs and having fun with color is a really great way to add personality to a space. And of course, I always feature my little DIY fruit bowl, which I am obsessed with still, and it is a very functional piece in my dining room. There used to be a horrible boob light in this space, so I ended up sourcing this light. It kind of had an industrial farmhouse vibe to it, which was a little bit more in my ballpark. It really shaped this corner and this space. I still love it to this day. The living room is actually one of the biggest changes within this entire house. A lot of items got DIY'd in here, including this cabinet. This used to be red, and I used chalk paint to transform it into this really nice matte black. It's interesting how color completely transformed this room. After this piece turned black, I also painted the side table a dark green. That kind of started the inspiration for everything else that was coming into the space. I ended up redoing this entire gallery wall. My focus was definitely going with wood tones, something more natural, which is why a lot of these pictures went a little bit more of the natural way with the forest and the leaf and the DIY trunk. There's the sun and the floral girl trickled in with some typography pieces. It's taken me quite some time to figure out what is my design style, and I don't think I'm still there, and I think I'm excited for that journey to continue. But certain DIYs definitely helped. Adding the peel and stick on the back of this shelf provided the right feel and vibe and personality to the space that I was going for, which has kind of always been like industrial farmhouse with a touch of modern. And there's a lot of little DIY elements throughout this space that have helped make this room feel a lot more homey, such as little clay projects, painted pottery, DIY garlands, and some macrame elements that really add a little bit of texture and warmth. A lot of the things about this living room with the DIYs was just solving problems. I had one side table, but I couldn't put a side table over here. So building this kind of like DIY side table piece that also holds magazines here has been one of the most functional DIYs in this entire home because it's actually been used on a daily basis. What's interesting about changing everything in this living room, I was so desperate to figure out what is my design style. What I learned from that is that I don't think there is one design style for everyone. Design is always changing, trends are always changing. We're always going to be adapting what's in our spaces, and I love what happened in this living room, but even now there are tons of things that I would love to change now that I've lived in it for a couple months. So let's move on to the space that's probably changed the most drastically, and that's the entryway. This whole entryway is one giant DIY. From the tabletop that was custom built into this curved space. It has created so much function in this front entryway, and having a cool mural on the wall, it's just a lot of fun. It's really unique. I think I've actually let my creativity go the most in this space, and knowing that it's the first thing that you see when you walk into the house, it was really important to me that it shows off my personality and me as a creative person, and that's what I really enjoy about this. It really reflects my personality. One of the biggest challenges of this front entryway is how dark it is. I find myself opening the door a lot just to get the sunlight in. If I was staying here longer, I would definitely have replaced the door with something that has a window in it. Painting the door black, ironically, added a lot of personality to this front entryway. It made it a little bit warmer, a little bit more moody, which is definitely something I was going for. The door is a really great place to play with color that a lot of people don't think about. And that could be going into a bedroom, an office space, a back door, the front door. And then the oldest DIY in this entire house actually resides in the front entryway, and that's the DIY industrial bench. I've had this bench for a really long time and it's still holding strong, but I love it. It's so functional in this space. It's a great place to sit down and put your shoes on. It's also become a great additional side tables for when you're lying on the couch. And of course, my entryway always has to have flowers. It's my rule. I love walking into a home and seeing fresh flowers. I immediately feel at home. I immediately feel good. So it's something I always try to incorporate into every room because it's just important to me. Flowers make me happy. Taking a quick break from our home tour, I would love to take a minute to talk about our sponsor of this episode, Squarespace. I am not what the world would call technologically savvy. Like literally the worst. So with that said, as you can imagine, me building a website seemed literally unattainable. I needed something that was simple, intuitive, but adaptable because I knew that my DIY blog would grow and new ideas would come. So I wanted the ability to have room for growth. I built DIY in progress because I wanted a space that felt bigger than me. My life has forever been a DIY in progress. I'm not perfect, I'm not a pro builder, but I'm also not afraid to get messy and try new things. DIY in progress represented more than just simple DIY projects around the home. It represented a lifestyle, my lifestyle, a love of home and decor, and ultimately a place to just share new ideas with everyone. So I hope you go check it out if you haven't already adventured there. I have linked it in the description box below. Now, I have tried different website domains and I gotta say, I stand behind Squarespace. It really is designed for any purpose. They make tons of starter layouts so you don't even need to think about how you want your website to look. They create that for you, and there are so many different versions out there that are perfect for what you're looking for. As creative as I may be, visualizing a website felt so overwhelming. I had no idea where to start. I was like, yeah, I just want like a title thing and like just want people to be able to see this and have this on the side, but like it was just so much more than that. And having these templates to work from was just so much simpler for me as a person who is not technologically savvy. And I'm so happy that it was intuitive like I hoped. And I didn't need to hire a crazy web designer to help me do it. And I swear they have the coolest, trendiest templates you'll ever see. So whether you're looking for a website to highlight your personal body of work, or you just want a blog to share your ideas, maybe you got merchandise to sell, Squarespace has a template for it all. And then when you're ready to start calling yourself an HTML whiz, they have tons of different fonts, styles, web page colors, you name it, that can customize your page so that your site can look as customized and cool as your business. So if you are looking for the perfect domain to build your website, head to squarespace.com to start a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/DIYDanie to save 10% off your first website or domain. So the hallway isn't like super special, but there are a few DIYs in here that I did want to mention. So honorable mentions in the hallway. One being the DIY blanket ladder. I loved this build. It was super simple and I built it in collaboration with the Home Depot Canada. I actually put it in the hallway, which seems like a weird space, but it's kind of worked here, and it holds all of our extra blankets for on the couch. Hopefully it'll find a more proper home once we move. And then of course I have this piece. I don't really think it goes here, but I didn't want it to get ruined, so I really love this piece. It's like a minimalism kind of pop art that was kind of pushed into the paper. It is really simple and it's been a really fun piece to kind of show off and really simple to make. One of the coolest pieces in my home that I rarely talk about that I love so much is this affirmation mirror. This used to be a mirror. I repainted it and then added this little saying inside it, and it's the opposite side of the bathroom, so it's really nice when you walk out of the bathroom, you see it and it's just like, oh, you look beautiful. Thanks, mirror. The art room. This was a more recent video on my channel. It was a very recent transformation. If you all watched that video, you know where this room came from. It was bad, but it definitely transformed into something so beautiful and so functional. This space was all about being very serene and very calm. Your environment always reflects the kind of work that you're gonna create, and I definitely work the best when I feel the most calm. So I love walking in this room when I'm looking for inspiration. I have DIY books, design books, decor books, magazines, old sketchbooks, new sketchbooks. There's always something to reflect on to find new pieces of inspiration or old pieces that I would love to renew. And I think it's always important to create a space that you can go to that's gonna help you find new inspiration if you're kind of feeling that slump, you know? Ironically, not a lot of DIYs are actually incorporated into here, except for this small little hack on the end of my work table. This is just a curtain bar that actually hangs on curtain rods that I adjusted to face down, and then the brown paper can pull over the table. And of course, I've been working on a bunch of DIY clothing. That's what you see here on this table. So this is really exciting. You can go to my Squarespace website. It links to the page where you can buy all this amazing stuff. You can have beanies, cups, bags, t-shirts, tank tops, sweaters, and you can DIY in the mall. So I'm just very excited about all of this. I hope you're excited too. I will link those in my description box. I definitely accomplished what I set out to do in this room. We can just check this one off because I definitely did the work that needed to be done in here. And now it's time to go. The office space is probably the one space that hasn't drastically changed. So the first thing I wanted in this space was a dark blue accent wall, which I absolutely love. It really kind of shaped the mood of the space. And then with the contrasting white shelves against it, I just really liked the vibe of it. This is a shared office space, and what I loved incorporating was the long desk that ran across the entire length of the wall. We did this with the 2 IKEA tabletops, and this was just a really functional way to add 2 office spaces in a room that was quite small. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever felt like this room was small because of that. But on top of that, both Jeff and I were able to put both our personalities into the space by adding our own personalized shelves above our desk space. My side is a little bit more nerdy, and then on Jeff's side it's a little bit more academic and studious. I like to say my side's more fun and then his side's more boring. No, I'm just kidding. I think they complement each other though. So the big DIYs in this space are the arched cabinet. This was the Ivor cabinet from IKEA that I hacked and added the cane webbing on the front. Unfortunately, over time, the dog has used it as a personal tail whip target, so it's got a couple dents in it now, which is sad. But overall, the cabinet works so great, and I've been able to keep all of my hard drives and camera stuff in here, and it's just really nice to have a place to tuck it all away. Then the second DIY in this space was the custom writable board. I love this board. I think it is so handy, and it's a really great way to add an organizational element into your office without it feeling really invasive. It's clear, so you can put anything on the back. It's been a really great element in my office space to help me stay organized. And we love that. That's what offices are for. And then the last DIY in this space, which I've shared with you guys a lot, is Topless Tammy. I love her. She is a mannequin legs that was probably in a store at one point, and then I turned her into a planter. And I constantly change out her socks because I like to keep her trendy and cool. I'm excited to see where she might go in the new home. So the bedroom. This room has evolved a lot. The first piece that went into this was this really cool dark green Wisping accent wall. I loved this wall. I love this wall. I didn't love it. Well, I will be saying that soon. And what I love about it is that it's just so simple. Anybody can create something like this. I love the color, and I just love the warmth that it brought into this room. And then it's kind of unique with the little wisping pieces. It kind of felt very foresty, connected to nature, which is something we obviously learned that I'm always going for. I love these floating side tables. They were a really simple DIY project, but on top of that, I like it because you can add the wall sconces to it, and it makes it really renter friendly. But the nice thing is, by putting it on the wall, it draws the eye up, but on top of that, it kind of opens up the floor space. It makes the room appear like it's more spacious when really you don't got a lot of space. So it was a really great solution for this bedroom, and the wood tones really warmed it up and played nice against the green accent wall. Some other DIY elements were we changed out the knobs on the IKEA piece. The gold just makes it look a lot more elegant and a little bit more customized. This little like pendant light. I bought this at Target. This was a vase, and then I hacked it, so I cut out the bottom and added in this little frame and made it a pendant light. I put it in here to kind of like give it a spot to show like beauties, but I haven't really been sold on what to do with it. Maybe once I move, this will find a home, but for now it's just been kind of hanging here. It's just been hanging out. Hang out some more light. Okay. The next DIY in this space, which is actually one of my favorites, and it's so simple, are just these floating shelves. I ended up making these floating shelves at the beginning of COVID with some scrap wood that I had because we couldn't go out to the stores at the time, and I think it turned out brilliant. I'm just in love with it. The last DIY in this space is actually this bench. This is one of the OG DIYs that have always been in my space. I needed a bench, and I kind of wanted to bring in the green in a unique way, so I called it like the herringbone bench, but essentially I created holes inside that was able to wrap this rope, and it created kind of like a cool herringbone pattern on the inside. You don't really see it from the front, but all of a sudden when you get closer to it, it's just a really nice subtle detail that adds a little bit more personalization to the piece. And then underneath I did a weave. This DIY in particular really built my confidence up when it came to building kind of like more structured pieces. So I'm really proud of it, and I'm really glad that I encouraged myself to do it. I feel like this room was done. Sort of. It's never done. So the kitchen. I avoid shooting this kitchen like it's the plague, but in spirit of this home tour, I thought I would kind of talk about it and why I always avoided it. This kitchen is probably like the most uninspiring space in this home. I just never liked it. I don't like the brown marbled laminate countertops, and I don't like the blonde laminate cabinets. There's just so much that if I wanted to change it on a DIY scale, the cost never made sense for me. So I just kind of left it. I never really tackled it. However, if I had stayed in this house a little bit longer, I think this is what I would have done to it. So if you're in a situation like me and you're like, yeah, but I have one like that and I am staying, this is what I would have done to it. First of all, this would have been changed a long time ago. That boob light would have gone. There's a lot of boob lights in this house, and mostly I never changed them out purely because, you know, I was trying to save money. Looking back, I wish I had invested in a light. I think I would have enjoyed the space a little bit more. If you don't like a space and you're like, should I do it? Do it. It is totally worth it if you know you're gonna be in that space for a long time. The other big thing I would have done is I would have changed out all the hardware to something matte black. It would have pulled in some of the colors from the brown marbled top, but I also think it would have complemented the rest of the space. The good thing was is that this space used to be mustard yellow, and I did paint it white. The one thing that is really cool in this space is the craft paper roll. I love this thing. I think it's so fun in kitchen spaces. If I didn't have a bought version, I probably would have DIY'd one. And then of course there was a little DIY above Kenobi's dish. When he was a puppy, he ate that card, and I thought it would be funny to frame it because it plays homage to his crazy monster side. So it did say home is where the dog lives, but I think it's funnier because now it says home is where the lives. Yeah. This backyard is actually quite large. We have a whole dining area in the middle section, and then we have an entire pool side over here. But it wasn't until this last summer where I finally started to add some cool DIYs into it. I'm a little sad about that. The big DIYs that went into this space were my herb box, which I loved. I thought it kind of added a really unique kind of conversation piece to the backyard. And I loved bringing these DIY beam lights up into this space. It's been fun to move it around the backyard and kind of find different ways to incorporate this like beam lighting. Very adaptable to many different spaces. But one of the really cool areas was the DIY modern couch. At nighttime it looks so good. I always say it's a really fun buddy build because you need a buddy to build it. I don't know if one person could build this by themselves. If you can, then kudos to you. I think if I'd been here for another year, I definitely would have incorporated more DIYs into this backyard, but I'm glad that I accomplished what I did this summer, and it definitely made our last summer in this space a little bit more special. DIY, even if it's for a short amount of time, it's not really about the end result, it's about the journey and what you learned through it. That's always my philosophy of it. What did you learn from it, and what did you gain from it? Guys, thanks so much for watching this final DIY home tour. I hope you guys liked the space that I created and maybe some of the ideas that I would have incorporated if I had stayed. After all the changes that I made in this home in the last little while, I feel devastated to be moving, but I'm very excited. I think that the next chapter is going to be the most exciting, and with all of the skills and the DIY confidence that I've built over the last year, I'm just excited to start over and have all these new possibilities and share them with you. So I hope you guys are excited too, because I know that so much great DIY content is going to come out of it, and so many cool new ideas that I get to share with you, and I'm thrilled. Thank you again to the sponsor of this episode, Squarespace. If you're thinking of building your first website, then don't forget to use the link in my description box to get 10% off your first website or domain. Save some money, folks! Yay! Next week, very exciting, I'm gonna be doing a plant tour that's walking you through all the different plants I have in my home, how I've kept them alive, the little tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way. Hope you're ready, and I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.